So let's continue with the quantitative analysis portion of chapter 3, which is forecasting. Here we're going to do something which involves both seasonality and trend. So we're going to take a simple case. We're not going to get into complex things like nonlinear and randomness and so on and so forth. We're going to have just a linear equation. We all know the linear equation basically is this. So the linear equation is y is equal to a plus bt, and we know that a is this portion, which is the intercept on the y for x is equal to 0. So that is your a. We also know that b is the slope of this line. This line basically is the trend line. Okay, and these are the different data. All these data are there. Okay, so we have demand data, let's think of it that way, or the sales data, and we have various periods at which we are looking at. This is the 10th month, 20th month, 30th month, or the 10th week, 20th week, or the 10th day, 20th day, whichever way, or the 10th hour, 28th hour, whichever way you want to look at. So this will be the time, and we are going to denote that as T, the period as T, and then this will be the sales or demand. Okay, so this is the trend line and this is the seasonality line that we are going to look at when we are talking about linear seasonality and trend. So we're going to be pretty much using linear lines, and we're going to use this linear line for our demand in the next case that I'm going to talk about. So this is a case where we have what is called decomposition and forecast. Decomposition and forecast. So I'm going to make this a little bigger so we can see exactly what's happening. Maybe this is too big. I'm going to adjust this. I have data for 2008 first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and 2009 first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Okay, so now it can be, this is in years and quarters. It can be also the time period, as I said before, can be days, for weeks or months, whatever it is. So the time period, you have to pay attention to that, but here it is in quarters. The first thing I'm going to do is, instead of having it as quarter 1 2008, I'm going to make it as 1, the first one, the first quarter. That is number 1. And for the second quarter of 2008, I'm going to make it as 2. Then it is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So now I have the data, which is the T data, the data T, and then I have demands for this. Both these are given to you. Okay, so this is also given to you. This is also given to you. This is given to you as quarter 1, quarter 2, and what I'm trying to do is, instead of quarter 1 2009, I'm going to make it as 5. Okay, I'm going to make it a continuous time period. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, I'm going to calculate T times Y, which is going to be equal to T, which is 1, times Y, which is 300. So I'm going to calculate that. I'm going to copy and paste this, and that is my T times Y. I'm also going to calculate the total of my T, which is going to be, if I hit this, if I equal to sum of the sum of this whole thing, and that gives me my total. Let me make this center. The average is going to be ABAE the average of these 1 to 8. That is 4.5. That is the average of my quarter, the time, and I'm going to make this as period. Okay, a little better. Period T. Period T. Demand is Y. So I'm going to also do the same thing here. So I'm going to copy and paste so I can get the total and average for my demand as well as T times Y. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the average of the same quarters. So I'm going to do seasonality. I know seasonality is based on the period. So seasonality is the first quarter of 2008, the first quarter of 2009 is going to be pretty much the same season. The second quarter of 2008 and second quarter of 2009 is the same season. You see what I'm saying? And exactly that's what I'm planning to do. I'm going to take the average of the same quarters, and that will be enough for me to look at the seasonal effect. So I'm going to take the average of the first demand, which is 300, okay, comma, the first of 2009, which is 320, and that gives me an average of 410. So the average of 300 and 520 is 410. So now I can copy and paste for the remaining, and that is going to be the same thing here also. You see, that is going to be the same thing here as well. Now I'm going to do the seasonal factor. The seasonal factor, I'm going to find the seasonal factor. The seasonal factor is going to be equal to the average of the quarter, which is 410, okay, divided by average actual demand. The average actual demand is 411.25. So I'm going to equal to 410 divided by 411.25. 0.997 is my seasonal factor. And if I can make this AH12, which is, this is a constant, right? This is a constant. So I'm going to make this, as we talked before, an absolute reference. Then I can copy and paste. Okay, so I have 0.997 as the seasonal factor for the first season, which is the first quarters. So this is going to be the same for my 2009 as well. It's going to be the same. You see, the reason is the first quarter of 2008 and the first quarter of 2009 is going to be the same season. That's the reason I'm having the same 0.997 for 2008 quarter one as well as for 2009 quarter one. Okay. Next, I'm going to calculate my seasonalized or the deseasonalized demand. My deseasonalized demand is going to be equal to the actual demand, which is 300. Okay, the actual demand, which is 300, divided by the seasonal factor, which is 0.997. Okay, so let's do that. Equal to the demand for my first period is 300 divided by the seasonal factor, and that is 309.91. Okay, so now I can copy and paste this, and this is my deseasonalized demand. Okay, my deseasonalized demand. Now I'm going to calculate the total, the sum of all these, and then the average of all these, okay. So now I have the deseasonalized demand total and my deseasonalized demand average. Okay. So once I calculated the deseasonalized demand, then I'm going to look at the T squared. I'm going to calculate T squared. The T squared is actually T times T, which is going to be, the T here is 1 times 1 again, and I can copy and paste that. T times Y, the deseasonalized demand, T times YD is the next one I'm going to calculate. So that is going to be T times YD is 300.91, and I'm going to calculate that, and I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm also going to copy and paste the total of both and average of both. Now I've finished all the calculations. Okay, so make sure that you go through this really well and then practice it with the Excel I've given you before. Now I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to calculate in the equation, what is the equation of the linear? I'm going to assume a linear trend here, sorry, a linear curve here. And that linear curve is going to be what? What is my linear curve? The linear curve is going to be y is equal to a plus bt. So I need to calculate the a and b. That's what I'm going to do first. First, let's do the deseasonalized demand. The deseasonalized demand is these things. Okay, this is the deseasonalized demand. Okay, so I'm going to use these numbers here and these numbers here. So T and YD is what I'm going to be using. Okay, so I'm going to be using the T total average and the deseasonalized demand total average, and if I need to, I'm going to use the T squared as well as T minus YD. Okay, so let's look at it. This is the equation for B. What I've done here is, for you, I have made it into 4 different components. The first component is the first one here, sigma TYD. The second component is N times T average times the deseasonalized demand average. That is my second component. The third component is sigma T squared. The third component is sigma T squared. The fourth component is N times T average squared. Now, these 4, if I find, then I can take the first component minus the second component and then divide that by the third component minus the fourth component. It's the same thing of putting the whole thing in a big way. It's the same thing. So let me calculate the components for basically deseasonalized. Okay, how do I do that? So first one is sigma TYD, sigma of TYD. So I'm going to find what is TYD here. The TYD is going to be this one, the AN, that is my TYD. Okay, the sigma TYD is this one. Okay, so let's do one thing here. I'm going to make this as